shopping for the condo. I'm not a good shopper. And I just started shopping randomly. And I knew the first thing I bought was going to be ugly. I didn't want any trouble. I went in and bought a toaster. And the lady said, "Could I have your name and address?" No. I have this money, and I'm taking this toaster now. You don't need my name and address. I'm not adopting it. I'm purchasing it. I might throw it off a building after I leave here. She asked me, she said, "Would you like to buy the warranty for the toaster?" No, I think I'm going to absorb the risk on this one. I'm not a gambler, but I'm feeling lucky today. If this toaster should break, and God forbid that day should come, I'm going to take another $39 out of my pocket and buy another toaster, because that's how I live, on the edge. I just don't.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, June the 7th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the Star-Spangled Banner, we will have Sino, No Free Lunch, The Rape of the Mind, and let's see what else we've got here. Chris-Christie, Sean Hannity, Senator Scott, Jesse Waters, and Mike-Pence versus Donald Trump on the You Decide segment of the show. All that and more when I get back. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing and remove your hats for the national anthem of the United States of America.
Thank you. And now, No Free Lunch, 250 Economic Truths by David-Bahnsen.
The categories around which this book is organized are significant and intentional. The book began in the subject of human flourishing because it is the aim of economics, the telos, for those who understand economics the way it should be understood. I moved into human action from there because I believe economists who do not see the reality of humans acting as the base of economic activity understand very little in the field. They can always get something right accidentally, but the human person as the core of household management of resources is foundational to the way we understand everything. When we talk about covetousness and class envy, we are acknowledging the spiritual nature of economics. Class envy passes for economic theory far too often, and diagnosing the spiritual malady that creates it will at least allow people to be intellectually honest about where certain ideas are derived. The knowledge problem is not as esoteric or philosophical as it sounds. It is an observation that carries profound application in any number of areas. What remains unforgivable in modern economics is not a disagreement with the knowledge problem. It is that so many most certainly agree with it, and yet discard it all the time in matters of application. When one understands all that the price mechanism represents, they will not see price discovery as an obscure concept to arbitrarily defend. Rather, it would lead to a vigorous and unrelenting campaign to defend price discovery versus the complacent willingness to distort prices that we constantly see today. If we teach that operating in self-interest is intrinsically evil, we will ruin civilization. And if we teach that our own self-interest is all there is to economics, we will ruin civilization. Government spending and debt is presented as the primary issue of our day, and for good reason. But to understand the economic dynamics of debt, one must understand the economic ramifications of the size of government. And if the size of government is inversely related to the self-government of the people, one can understand why virtue and discipline matter so much to our study. A defense of free trade, properly understood, is really a condemnation of crony capitalism. The belief in free trade leads to a defensible defense of freedom in setting prices, including the price of labor. Minimum wage laws are but one social application of economic theory, but they are ground zero in the subject of free exchange and price discovery. Most problems in contemporary monetary policy stem from the belief that monetary policy should be used as a tool to neutralize difficulties from the business cycle. More economic fallacies have come from resisting creative destruction than almost anything else. You can see where our understanding of so many of these topics is intertwined with our understanding of the others. Incentives are implied in human action. Like the knowledge problem, serious economists know that incentives matter, but they advocate policies that discard the importance of incentives, and they do it self-consciously. Formulating policies of taxation without regard for incentives is like setting rules for cars without regard for pedestrians. Credit and sound money are complicated subjects that many cannot resist trying to reduce to mere sound bites. There are key principles that can be mastered, but too many people believe things that are wrong or incomplete, and they formulate elaborate beliefs from these wrong or incomplete understandings. I wanted this economic subject to be primary in the book, even though I had no chance of solving every inquiry these subjects produce. A strong foundation here allows a really cogent development of monetary theory, but the opposite leads to economic practice that has done immeasurable harm to society. One derives a view of political power out of their view of social organization. The political is but one subset of the broader subject, and all carry serious implications for economic living. The great economic masters have always understood that a philosophy of how society is organized is where economic systems come from, not the opposite. Socialism is a dangerous political system because it stems from a dangerous belief about societal cooperation. My first book was called Crisis of Responsibility because the subject of individual responsibility means everything to me. It is the fuel of sound economics, and its demise is supported by debunked economics. A deficient view of responsibility and dangerous economic ideas feed off of each other and wreak havoc along the way. If all there was to economics was capital allocation, I would still love economics. The efficient and optimal allocation of capital excites me because it creates positive feedback loops in human flourishing. It generates rewards, and those rewards allocate capital more efficiently. Likewise, the division of labor is a mere tool in economics, not its essence. Like efficient allocation of capital, the optimal specialization of labor creates one virtuous cycle after another. And once we are done studying all these foundational components of economics and application studies in economics, we find ourselves back again at the purpose of it all, the cause of human flourishing. My hope and prayer is that your study of economics leads you to the ideas and applications that most faithfully pursue that aim. One who has truly learned all the subjects I focused on in this book will not necessarily have a comprehensive and systematic understanding of economics. There are more mathematical, scientific, philosophical, and social studies to be had. But I do believe one who masters these silos will be able to master the concept of human flourishing. That is the aim of this book, to provide the first principles necessary to advocate for that cause. If you can master that, but still want to go deeper into systematic economics, I will write another book. But if you master the first principles contained herein on the subjects I organize this book around, you will be prepared to champion the cause of human flourishing, and that will leave you miles ahead of modern economists.
And that was There's No Free Lunch by David-Bahnsen. Back in a minute. Thank you. Who is the true conservative? He knows that the government has no rights. He is religious. He is patriotic and uses common sense. He makes judgments, refuses to speculate, speaks clearly and definitively, and is not afraid to say no. He's open-minded, asking why rather than why not. He is consistent, credible, and influential, not ashamed of his existence, unafraid to learn or correct his mistakes. He is a normal American. Back in a minute. Thank you. What are the true conservative suggested political priorities? Number 1, the abolition of abortion throughout the land. Number 2, make nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons obsolete. Number 3, immediate decertification of all public employee unions. 4, the immediate assignment of criminal and civil liabilities to all government regulators. Number 5, the immediate repeal of the so-called Patriot Act. Number 6, the immediate repeal of all emergency dictator laws. Number 7, the reinstatement of writs of outlawry. 8, government-sponsored recalls, ballot initiatives, and referendums. 9, a flexible minimum wage. 10, means-tested health care. 11, the immediate and permanent prohibition of investment banking by any office holder. Back in a minute. Thank you. What are the true conservative cultural priorities? Bring back hierarchy. Bring back the admiration of intelligence, morality, and beauty. Bring back single-income households, integration, parenting, the primacy of existence, certainty of knowledge, and universal rights and wrongs. Bring back principled behavior, masculinity and femininity. Bring back Adam 12, John F. Kennedy, the gold standard, pre-HMO medical care, and nonprofit news. Bring back civil service, the term stupid question, arguments and fights, the cultural influence of the church and the Boy Scouts. Bring back the influence of social organizations such as the Lions Club and the Rotary Club. Bring back bowling. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, this is Mike Huckabee on Chris-Christie.
People need to remember that it was Chris-Christie. That's Christopher Wray. People need to remember that it was Chris-Christie who urged Donald Trump to put Christopher Wray in as FBI director. And we all know how that's turned out. So if there's any reason we can't trust Chris-Christie's judgment and would not want him in the White House, just remember Christopher Wray.
And that was Mike Huckabee on Chris-Christie. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now Sean Hannity with the New Yorker's response or reaction to the city's latest woke initiative.
That's a good question. I don't know if there's any hope of that happening anytime soon, but what do you think it's going to do to the neighborhood?
Mess it up as usual.
So you think it's a good idea?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay, but what about the fact that, it's taxpayers' dollars that are potentially fueling an even bigger drug crisis in the city?
It's no matter. We need that machine in the neighborhood. That way we can have less people dying.
It's like taxpayer money that we're giving resources now to drug addicts. You think this is going to hurt or help the neighborhood?
I think it's going to hurt the neighborhood. Yeah, honestly, I think it's going to hurt because it's supplying the stuff. So they'll feel more comfortable knowing that they have the fentanyl strips and stuff like that, more comfortable to use it.
So why is this here? I don't see the purpose of it to be on this residential block. No one on this block needs it.
And that was, again, Sean Hannity, from the Sean Hannity Show, about getting the reaction of New Yorkers about having vending machines that dispense crack pipes and Narcan. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now Sean Hannity with the news that New York City has installed vending machines with crack pipes and Narcan.
that he's rolled out a plan to recruit people that are hooked on drugs. I'm really struck, if you remember, Jesse, where early on the Biden administration had this plan nationally. Let's give crack pipes to junkies. And there was such a backlash nationally that the Biden administration ran away and said, oh, no, never mind. We didn't really plan on doing this. Well, now that's what the mayors of New York and Philadelphia are doing. And you know what it really is? It's a surrender. Yeah. It is a surrender to the catastrophe that Democrats have caused. Last year, we had more than 100,000 people die of drug overdoses. 70% of them were from Chinese fentanyl flooding across our southern border. And Eric Adams and Joe Biden and the Democrats, they don't want to secure the border. They don't want to fix the problem. So instead, they're just surrendering. Here, we'll give you crack pipes.
And that was not Sean Hannity, but Jesse Waters with his guest, Senator Ted Cruz, talking about the New York initiative to install vending machines with crack pipes and Narcan. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now a message via Sean Hannity from Senator Tim Scott.
Is a very blue-collar, everyday American background. You and I both had to figure out how to succeed in life, but the conditions of America make it possible for the working-class person to come to the heights of being in TV. You can look at me and say, a kid growing up in a single-parent household, mired in poverty, can he one day be a congressman or a senator or a business owner? The answer is yes. Why? Because America continues to evolve in the right direction. We continue to call upon our better angels. We are a more perfect union today than we were yesterday or last year or last decade. We have to believe in the future of this country and then lean into that future and make it what it should be. Spend more time in the windshield and less time in the rearview mirror.
And that was Senator Tim Scott from the Sean Hannity Show. Back in a minute. Thank you. So now it's going to be former President Donald Trump making his announcement for his candidacy for President of the United States for 2024 versus former Vice President Mike Pence making his announcement for his candidacy for President of the United States for 2024. So we'll start with Mike Pence.
Well, hello, Iowa. Secretary Paul Pate, Congressman Greg Pence, Speaker Todd Huston, my fellow Hoosiers, my friends in Iowa, my fellow Americans, it is great to be back in the Hawkeye State. You know, Indiana will always be home for us. And I get why people make big announcements back home, in their hometown, at their resort, even on Twitter. But we wanted to be here, in person, in Iowa. We are here because we know that Iowa was the right place to start our engines for the great American comeback. We just wanted you to know, men and women of Iowa, we know the next Republican nominee for president and the next president of the United States will get their start right here in the Hawkeye State. So we thank you all for being here. We're truly grateful, all of you that have come from near and far. I stand before you today, deeply humbled. As a son of the heartland, the grandson of an Irish immigrant. My dad was a combat veteran in the Korean War. My mom, a first-generation Irish-American, who's 91 years young and looking on from home today. Hi, Mom. Our family lived the American dream. I married the girl of my dreams. And now you understand a little bit more about how special she is. Elementary school teacher, an artist, a pilot, and the best second lady the United States of America has ever had. Would you join me in thanking my amazing wife, Karen Pence? As Karen just told you, together we raised 3 incredible kids. We married 3 amazing spouses, and just in the past 2 years, we became grandparents 3 times over to the 3 most beautiful little granddaughters ever born in the history of the world. Our son is a captain in the United States Marine Corps. Our daughter Charlotte is a best-selling author and married to a lieutenant in the United States Navy that just finished Top Gun. And our daughter Audrey is a Yale Law graduate and now practicing law. Let me just say, as Karen did, we love you guys, and we miss you today. You know, I actually started in politics in another party. You may not know that. But I've got to tell you, as soon as I heard the voice of the 40th President of the United States, I joined the Reagan Revolution and never looked back. I came to faith in Jesus Christ as a man in college, and I started a lifelong love affair with the Constitution of the United States. For all of my adult life, as my brother just said, the introduction I prepared is pretty short. I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order, and it has been my honor to serve you, the people of this state and nation. most Americans know me from my last assignment in the White House. What you may not know is I was also a congressman from Indiana for 12 years. I was a leader for House conservatives. We fought for life and liberty. I battled against big spenders in both political parties during those years, and most of them remember it. I was a governor in Indiana where we cut taxes, as you heard from Speaker Houston. We achieved record employment. We expanded educational choice, stood for the right to life and the freedom of religion. And as your vice president, I was proud to stand by President Donald Trump every single day when we made America great again. Everything I am, everything I ever will be, I owe to my family, the people of this country, and to Almighty God. I often think of that verse that King David wrote. Who am I? Who is my family that you brought me this far? You know, I truly do believe in the boundless potential of every American to live the American dream. But traveling around this country over the past 2 years since I left office, it feels different, doesn't it? Talking to our fellow Americans, I see weariness on faces everywhere I go. And I hear it in their voices. I don't have to tell any of you here. This country's in a lot of trouble. President Joe Biden and the radical left have weakened America at home and abroad. The confidence and pride that once lifted the American spirit to new heights not so long ago has given way to fear and a growing angst that our best days might be in the past. In many ways, our country has grown barely recognizable than just a few short years ago. There are crises everywhere. Our borders under siege. Inflation's at a near 40-year high. Gas prices are through the roof. Fertilizer and fuel prices are working a hardship on family farms here in Iowa and Indiana and all across the country. Crime is skyrocketing in our major cities. Real wages are falling and our national debt is piling up like a mountain range on our children and grandchildren. And that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan has emboldened the enemies of freedom around the world. And maybe worst of all, our timeless American values are under assault every day. In classrooms, our children are indoctrinated into radical ideologies and even taught to hate our history. And from boardrooms, our faith and beliefs are insulted routinely, while government agencies target concerned parents and punish consumers in the name of social justice. We're better than this. This country has been so good to my family, and I've been honored to serve it. We both have. And it'd be easy to stay on the sidelines. That's not how I was raised. I've long believed that to whom much is given, much will be required. That's why today, before God and my family, I'm announcing that I'm running for President of the United States of America.
Okay, so that was Mike Pence and now former President Donald Trump.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States. So many incredible friends and family here tonight. It's such a beautiful thing. It's Some people say, how do you speak before so many people all the time? When there's love in the room, it's really easy, if you want to know the truth. It really is. You ought to try it sometime. Together we will be taking on the most corrupt forces and entrenched interests imaginable. Our country is in a horrible state. We're in grave trouble. This is not a task for a politician or a conventional candidate. This is a task for a great movement that embodies the courage, confidence, and the spirit of the American people. This is a movement. This is not for any one individual. This is a job for tens of millions of proud people working together from all across the land and from all walks of life, young and old, black and white, Hispanic and Asian, many of whom we have brought together for the very, very first time. If you look at the numbers, if you look at what's happened with Hispanic, with African American, with Asian, and just look at what's happening. This is a party that has become much bigger, much stronger, much more powerful, can do much more good for our country. This is a job for grandmothers and construction workers, firefighters, builders, teachers, doctors, and farmers who cannot stay quiet any longer. You can't stay quiet any longer. You're angry about what's happening to our country. Our country is being destroyed before your very eyes. It's a job for every aspiring young person and every hard-working parent, for every entrepreneur and underappreciated police officer who is ready to shout for safety in America. The police are being treated so badly. These are great people. They can straighten out the crime. They're the ones that know how to do it. We have to give them back their respect and their dignity. This will not be my campaign. This will be our campaign all together. Because the only force strong enough to defeat the massive corruption we are up against is you, the American people. It's true. The American people, the greatest people on earth. We love them all. And we love both sides. We're going to bring people together. We're going to unify people. And it was happening in the previous administration, previous to the previous. And what was bringing them together was success. Prior to COVID coming in, the people were calling me, you wouldn't believe it. People that were so far left, I figured they'd never speak to me and I would never speak to them. But our success was so incredible,
You've been listening
like never before.
To the former president.
Okay, so that was former Vice President Mike Pence with his announcement versus former President Donald Trump making his announcement. You decide. Back in a minute.
Dum 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 dum.
Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. 'Cause the dreams bring back all the memories of everything we've been through.
Close to the ones here today. Close to the ones that we lost on the way. 'Cause the dreams bring back all the memories, and the memories bring back you.
There's a time that I remember when I did not know no pain, when I believed in forever and everything would stay the same. Now my heart feel like December when somebody say your name. 'Cause I can't reach out to call you, but I know I will one day. Yeah.
Everybody hurts sometimes. Everybody hurts someday. Yeah. But everything will be alright. Go with your voice and say, hey.
Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. 'Cause the dreams bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Close to the ones who
Thank you. I'm Ron, your host and the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all of the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. And until next time, be honest, be smart, be beautiful, and remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win.